Good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great.
Yeah.
Everybody can just shoot their ire my way. At Dusty_Hera, Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326. YouTube comments, youtube.com/1080am The Fan. Around the office here, I am being blamed for the rainy weather.
You were the one calling for it.
I have not called for it.
You have.
No.
It's good for you. It's good.
No.
It's good. You need it. Yeah.
No,
But you've been sweet talking it.
It keeps the state green.
That's why it feels comfortable here. You need to rough talk it like with Bigfoot.
You get out of here.
Yeah.
Rain.
Absolute
None
monster.
of you. I felt like the rainy season was officially here because everybody who drives on Highway 26 and approaching the tunnel knows this. When you are in the left-hand lane and all of a sudden a tidal wave comes over the cement barrier,
Yeah.
it's rainy season. Got that. That was like my first moment. There's not a person you don't even have to swear in your day-to-day. And you can just be just like a salt of the earth person that does not swear. When that happens to you,
It will come out.
You cannot tell me.
No.
You don't say OS, OF.
You'll be like Kramer in the Mel Torme episode where he just lets the expletives fly.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Kramer when he was at like Mike Night. And, like,
No,
racist
not that one.
epithets
I
come
wasn't
out.
gonna
And I was
go
like,
there.
No.
I don't think that happens to everybody, Jeff.
Michael
Probably
Richards.
just him.
Michael Richards canceled. Yeah. He's one of the first.
I prefer to remember his good days.
Yeah. He didn't get the
Before
redemption
that.
tour either.
Huh.
No, he didn't.
Like he
No.
Well,
It's because I think that, again, we
kinda
have this
stood
weird
on it.
sliding scale of the terrible things you can do and how meaningful you are to, the music industry, entertainment, your sports teams,
Sure.
right? Cosmo Kramer, we
Not
already
that
got his
relevant.
best shot.
Yeah.
We got his best shot.
you can't do that after your prime.
He was
Do it in
also
your prime. That's when you're gonna mess around.
He also had a great role in was it the Weird Al movie UHF?
UHF, yeah. Stanley Spadowski. That's my mop.
Never watched that.
You didn't?
Oh, it's tremendous.
Oh, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
It is a great
Well,
movie.
No,
I won't take it. It's a great movie.
it is an entertaining movie. It's funny. It's entertaining. Great movie. We'll leave that for like Shawshank and stuff, but it's funny.
Oh. So you're saying if it's not Shawshank, you're not considering it a great movie?
I'm just saying there's certain vernacular that gets used towards certain genres of film and whatnot.
Okay.
Great movie to me is like, an award-winning, fantastic special effects, what have you,
Sure.
really, tearjerker or something like that. UHF, funny.
Funny movie.
Yeah.
Funny movie. Early 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
Boy, that sounds,
I want to say like
okay.
90.
It's got to be like 1990-ish, yeah.
Yeah.
Right in that wheelhouse.
I don't know. I haven't seen it in
1989.
1989, yeah. I haven't seen it in a decade, probably a decade. And I always worry about these things. I feel like with Weird Al, we're gonna be okay. But you say something was really good from like back in the day, and then you watch, you're like, oh boy,
It was really
I
bad.
have led people astray.
But it's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
The wife and I watched Dumb Money the other night.
No idea what that is.
That's the new one that just came out with.
Dumb.
It's
Money.
about the GameStop.
Oh, right. Yeah, the Seth Rogen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a fun little. If you don't really understand what the hell that was,
Okay.
it's about 100. It's like 100 type minutes that really sums
Really?
it all up.
Oh, good.
It's Pete Davidson.
I love Pete Davidson.
The cast is unreal. Like you start watching, you're like, holy crap! How many people are in this?
He's unapologetic and
Everything.
he's like uncancelable.
I enjoy Pete Davidson. I will say one
Because he
thing,
got
though.
called Butthole Eyes.
I mean, that,
It's not untrue, but also he just got drugged through the mud
Well,
by various women,
I will
all
say
of which
too,
were
but
gorgeous.
I always, for
I'm
some
like,
reason, thought he was super short.
he's
For
tall.
some- but he's tall. He is a giant. He just, for some reason, his personality
You're
and his
right.
persona and the way he looks, just
The YouTube folks got that one that
Yeah.
Danny just did, but nobody else probably did.
I missed it.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
But that's also true.
Yeah.
That's got to be
I mean,
true.
it doesn't, nothing, I can't even get the words out. Otherwise, it would not explain his list.
He's got a huge personality.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what he has.
It has to be.
Yeah. Also, I think Pete Davidson is uncancelable too because of the fact that, like, he he fires off 9/11 jokes, and then he just goes, "My dad died in 9/11, you
Yeah.
jerks!" Like, and then it's like, God damn it, he's like made a great career off of
the
that.
guy's been through some stuff.
A lot of stuff.
yeah,
and he has that show. It's really good.
Bupkis, yes.
Bupkis is
Yes.
really good on
That
Hulu.
is a good, very good show. That's
Yeah.
not one where I'll make that distinction. It's a good show.
I saw a very good movie last night.
What was it?
Blue Beetle. I watched
Oh.
Blue Beetle. The DC.
DC. Look at
think that was
you.
DC,
yeah.
It was on Max, so I knew it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't Marvel.
That would be on Disney Plus.
Yep. But Blue Beetle, I'd heard about it when it came out, and that was about it. It's a really good movie. I liked it. I thought it was really good, and it apparently flopped at the box office.
It only made 30 million or 25 million. So it
deserves better.
$104 million budget, 129.
It deserves better. It's a good movie.
It actually got a near 80% on Rotten Tomatoes.
See, that's wild.
So, like, I think a big part of that has to do with coming out of COVID and still returning to movies, and like Blue Beetle being a lesser known character. Like, you need.
Well, you don't really have any star power in there, though.
George
either.
Lopez was great in it.
That
Yeah,
was,
but
like,
he's
Uncle
an
Rudy.
ancillary part.
But they also, they tried to
and you
introduce
got
new
Susan
characters.
Sarandon.
But they're trying to introduce new actors. And you're
Yeah.
seeing this in Marvel too.
And it's
like-
Miguel from Cobra Kai.
Yes, but like Marvel, when they rebooted everything, yes, they rebooted it, or when they first started it. But like they originally cast, what's his name, American History X,
Ed Norton.
Ed Norton as the Hulk, who in 2009, Ed Norton's at the top.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. were kind of coming back up. Scarlett Johansson is at kind of at the peak of her powers.
I always felt that movie got unfairly pooped on.
What, the Hulk
Yeah.
movie? I thought it was good.
Yeah.
But Mark Ruffalo, like all those actors, they
What
were
happened to
all.
Mark Ruffalo? He was like everybody's
He got
like,
that-
oh, he's so
he
hot.
He got that
Hulk
Marvel
money.
I say he got that Marvel money. He could
Yeah.
disappear.
And now he's an activist.
Yeah.
That is what I wouldn't become an activist, but I would disappear.
Well, Scarlett Johansson's kind of doing the same. Like she did a
Why would-
bajillion movies there for 10 years. And she's like,
Yeah.
I made Marvel money. I had my own. She had her own Marvel movie.
Yeah, she did.
Black Widow had her own spinoff.
Yeah.
But they grabbed everybody at the kind of like and rose with them.
Yeah.
The new Marvel movies, they're having trouble because this is something completely tangential. It doesn't feel like there's a new generation of great actors. Like who is a superstar actor or actress under 30?
How old is Jennifer Lawrence? That's
She's
where my
gotta be 30s. I bet she's like 33. I bet.
34.
Damn. I don't know.
Where's your Tom Cruise Risky Business?
Yeah, she's 33.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love her.
Oh no,
She's great.
she's probably she's probably the one.
Great actress under 30.
I mean, some people would say
That is a bad question for
Chalamet,
me.
and I'm out on him.
Yeah.
But hey, whatever. I mean, Dune was spectacular,
I don't know.
but
I cannot help you there. I
but-
don't know.
But I think that was the problem with Blue Beetle is like they're trying to like find these new actors and actresses and get these platforms, which is great because you don't want to recycle and you have
But
to.
the problem is it's tough to have your star be that one guy from that one show.
Yeah, you need. It's like you got to build towards those.
Yeah.
Like Marvel did it, and like Chris Hemsworth when he did Thor sucked. The first couple Thor, they had to build him up but they had all the other properties to lift everything else up. And with like Blue Beetle, the Marvel or the DC properties have sucked.
Huh.
They're going through a new reboot. James Gunn left Marvel to take over DC. So
When you had that guy with the Flash, he was a bit problematic.
very Ezra Miller, very problematic.
Yes.
So is Army Hammer.
Oh, buddy.
That was a whole deal. What happened to him? Is he in jail?
No, he has
don't
more
believe
money
so.
than God. Like
Yeah.
his family comes from like
He's got that Arm & Hammer money.
I mean, you're not actually wrong.
Yeah,
like
no, Army Hammer has Army
His
Hammer
name is
money.
Arm and Hammer.
yeah, no, they have
Armand.
yeah, they have dumb money. But yeah,
I think he's a junior.
did you ever read that like the whole thing?
No, he's a little weird for
Little? You're
Like, he
sliding
wanted
scale
to
of like
eat human beings.
yeah.
Yeah, well,
It was a whole thing.
I think
man.
that in your parlance over there behind your in your glass tower that you live in on the other side over there, he would be a great weirdo in the way that you have
yeah.
judged things. Like
Yeah, I
he
guess,
is.
Well, what Angelina and Billy Bob were just the tip of the iceberg with the little blood vials hanging around their necks. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the other thing. We also don't have any like weird hots.
Any weird hots?
Like Angelina Jolie was very weird, but also dumb hot.
Yeah, her family's all messed up too.
Yeah.
Well, Jennifer Lawrence, she's
Boyd.
not weird, but she's she's goofy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure. That's what I'm saying. Like Hollywood has changed drastically. It feels like everything's super pre-packaged and pre-lit, and it's none of it's. You don't the story of like the person moving from Ohio to Hollywood and becoming a star.
Oh yeah, they all go to like. Well, I mean, we've already seen this coming. Like
the Juilliard.
They all go to like
Corporation.
Beverly Hills High School.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, wow, you really had it rough.
Yeah. You hear about the what's his name? Speaking of Ohio,
You sell your kids when you're young. Now. That's
handsome man in the NFL hat.
Rob Lowe.
Thank you. I'm dropping these hints, man, before I run out of names. But Rob Lowe's high school class in LA.
Handsome man with the NFL hat.
You knew exactly what. Look, tell me you didn't know exactly where I was going.
Who also had a problematic start to his career.
Again,
And
our problematic
wickedly
hots.
overcame it.
Our problematic hots.
With Robert Downey Jr., who
Yes!
also was a silver spoon problematic.
They went. They went to high school together. Like you look at their high school.
They all went to like Beverly Hills High.
But he moved from Ohio.
I thought
at
it was
12
Shermer
or
High School in
13.
Chicago.
Good Lord.
I hate you. But
See, at least Danny got it.
his single mom like moved him out to California, like to help him pursue when they were like 12 or 13 years old or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sell your kids when they're young. Like,
Yes, we don't have enough
go do it.
parents selling their kids' souls before they're 16.
related, Macaulay Culkin got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame
He
over
did.
the weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very cool.
yeah.
How's he look these days?
He looks great.
Does he?
He looks way better than Seth Green, who was there for some reason. But Seth Green was there.
Seth Green's also he's also becoming that version of his character in Austin Powers where he tore out his own hair.
Yeah.
Like he looks like that Seth Green now.
But those were two, like Seth Green and Macaulay Culkin were child actors.
Yeah.
And they kind of like grew up in that time together. And I was like, oh my God, look at Macaulay and his brother Kieran, who is fantastic in, oh goodness.
Succession.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yep. I knew it was there. He was my favorite character in that show. All of those.
Little Lord Ethelroy.
Yeah. He was the highlight of that show for me. He was fantastic all the way through, start to finish. He was my favorite in that show. But he was Seth Green and Macaulay Culkin were there, and now Kieran has like really long hair, which is a weird thing to see. Like he has like Jesus hair. It's all really long. But that was a kid that, you never know how these guys are going to turn out when you reach stardom when you're a little bugger. That's probably what it is. That, and why do you need to become a child actor when you can become a TikToker?
That's probably a big part of it. It's like
Because they're all terrible actors on TikTok. But why do people fall for the, I can't believe this just happened, and you watch 10 seconds of this video and you're like, they're acting terribly.
Yeah.
But this is not real.
No.
It's not real at all.
No.
Our generation is doomed.
TikTok for the first like year it existed was super fun. Like during the COVID period, you had like fun content that was being created. And now it's all algorithm generated garbage. It's just the worst. It's just there's no original content, which it was all original content, and now it's just recycled crap.
Okay, when you Google best actors under 30, this is to your point of what you were talking about. What comes up is Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
Okay, who's 27.
Yeah.
Asa Butterfield. I don't know what he's in. Who's 26. And then you have Zac Efron, who's 36.
Yeah, okay.
Liam Hemsworth, who's 33. Will Poulter, who's 30. Alex Pettyfer, who's 33, and Dylan O'Brien, who's 32. They're not under 30.
But yeah, like that's
Are
what
we
I mean.
gonna see? Am I gonna see?
Someone in the text line said Tom Holland, who I really enjoy in Spider-Man, and he did the spin-off for the video game movie. I can't remember what it was.
About to see like
Jumanji?
No, Uncharted.
Oh, there we go.
With
yeah, that was
Philadelphia.
Lord.
Hey, I'm walking here. Marky Mark Wahlberg.
Okay.
my gosh.
God, I'm really just dropping just
None
hint
of
after
these-
hint after these names. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's nobody there. There's no box office star. I think that's a
We're gonna see like
bigger issue.
43-year-old Channing Tatum,
Yeah.
best actor under 30.
Yes, that's the thing. Is like, I think that's
this
a
is
bigger
weird.
issue than COVID and like people not going to the movies. I think just there aren't great actors right now.
Yeah,
I think that's a bigger part of it.
Yeah, I'll subscribe to that. Miles Teller's on this list.
Who I
36
am
years old.
Not a fan of.
He's 36 too.
He's the
so
same
he's not
character in
under
every
30.
movie. It weirds me out. Somebody else put Anya Taylor-Joy, who did
Well, hold on.
Queen's Gambit, and I can't unsee the fact that she looks like a goldfish. I know that makes me a terrible person. I know, but her eyes are on the side of her head, and I can't watch anything with her in it. I can't.
But to your point on Miles Teller, Nick Cage has made a 40-year career out of being the same person in every damn movie.
Yeah, but he does it. He knows everybody's in on the joke. I don't think
I
Miles
know,
Teller
but it's
does.
like everybody's like, God, his performance was amazing in Pig. It's like,
It's
yeah,
the
it's
same-
still Nick Cage
It's
though.
Ghost Rider without the
Yeah.
skull.
Like, he's not looking for the Declaration of Independence. He's looking for his damn pig. Like, I've seen these lines delivered before. Like, I know what's happening here.
No, see, but you know, though, that Nick Cage is a great actor because he can carry a movie like Willy's Wonderland without saying a word.
I don't know what Willy's Wonderland is.
It's the one it takes place.
Uh-oh.
He takes like a temp job, like as a custodian, to come in and clean up an old rundown, basically Chuck E. Cheese type place.
Okay.
And all of the animatronic animals come to life and they like terrorize and kill people. So he's trying to defend himself and take care of the animatronic animals come to life.
Great actor.
Yeah. Doesn't say a word.
Great actor.
Has not one line of dialogue. It's all just grunts.
You know who has changed his range, though? Quite dramatically?
Who?
With still being the same person?
Chris
Keanu
Pratt.
Reeves.
Oh,
Reeves.
Keanu.
Keanu
Yeah.
Reeves is... I mean, John Wick, the fact that he can go from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure to
Oh,
John
right.
Wick,
Yeah.
you know, that's amazing.
Tubular, bro.
His character development has gone from like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Parenthood, which he was fantastic in
Matrix.
Parenthood,
Yes.
and then he goes like into Matrix, and then John Wick, and then
course.
goes back to Bill and Ted, and then
course.
goes back to John Wick. Like, it's amazing.
We can't forget.
I am an FBI
Yes.
agent.
See, and that was our taint roll between Parenthood and Matrix
yeah.
right there, was going into being an FBI agent.
The other thing is, I think
Johnny Utah.
you're not seeing the young actors because you're seeing guys like Pedro Pascal who are getting on the scene later and
Yeah.
older.
Yeah.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
Yes. Time to move to Hollywood, Jeff Rust.
Hmm.
Because I was just looking, I was like, I wondered how old he is. He's 48, and he has been in seemingly everything for the last 10 years.
I don't know. I'd probably have to work at a Hooters for too long before I caught my big break.
Yeah, that's it. It's worked out
I
for,
mean,
for somebody before.
Working at the Fan is pretty similar. You'll be okay. We're like the Hooters of radio.
You definitely come here to check
Yeah.
us
Fair
out.
enough.
Yeah. I mean,
That's why we have glass all around us so you can watch us all the time.
you come for the sports and you stay for everything else, you know?
I have to start wearing hot pants.
No, you're okay. You're okay. I mean, I'm just glad you're wearing pants, period. That's that's an upgrade from where this show started, when you were in one office and we were in a completely other office and we couldn't see you. We had no idea what you were wearing in there.
Good thing.
Yeah. Help. All right. Should we get this show on the road?
Yes, but I have to mention this Vancouver Ford text
Let's
line.
go.
There might not be any new hot actresses under 30 because they're all waiting till 30 so Leo DiCaprio won't try to date them.
That's actually a pretty good point.
Right?
You know?
Huh?
Yeah.
Just hold off.
Oh my gosh. Now this is like, now my brain's going to a completely different spot of how just dark and twisted and wrong Hollywood is. And it's
Uh-huh.
like, well, they've cleaned Hollywood up a little bit with getting rid of some of those truly awful human beings, Harvey Weinstein.
Mm.
But you're like, okay, you get the pushing those people out. That is all good. That's all good for everything. Now, as we have this text says, the biggest tragedy is the death of the mid-budget comedy.
Yeah, no more.
That's where people got their break, right? But now I think we've just become flooded with all of those because Netflix and Hulu and, Peacock, they'll all just put anything on there.
Yeah.
And there's so much crap that you have to sift through.
Just get something, just because, again, the content creation
Yeah.
as opposed to like making good content.
Whereas like you had to have guys like Seth Rogen like grind through and finally get their Superbad and Pineapple
Oh
Express.
yeah, him and Bill
where they
Hader
pop-
together, like they
Yeah.
did a ton.
Like we had Bottle Rocket so the Wilson brothers could fly, right? Like I mean, and those were like those low budget, mid budget comedies that Blossom careers. And Napoleon Dynamite. I remember Napoleon, like when Napoleon Dynamite came out, like when we were in college, is when Napoleon Dynamite came out, and that was like, holy smokes, this movie's really funny. How did they get this made? Well, they did it with like zero budget, and what's his name? The guy
John Hader.
No, Diedrich, whatever.
Diedrich Bader.
Diedrich Bader was the only person that anybody had ever recognized, and he was from Whose Line Is It Anyways?
You had
Office
Tina
Space.
Majorino in there too,
Yeah, okay.
and she hit it in her youth.
You go to the OG Clerks and Mallrats,
Sure, yeah.
where you have Kevin Smith.
Smith.
And Affleck and Damon, like Muse. I mean,
Jay and Silent Bob.
The list of dudes that came, came from that
Yeah.
iteration was forever long.
Okay, I have a feeling we've got to go.
Oh, okay.
We've got to
Yes,
go.
we do.
But
Hey, this is the new record.
Hey, break.
But we have a question that I need to get to. We will get to it at some point in the show. It's just not going to be next, okay?
Yeah.
It's not going to be next.
It's going to be a short segment next.
I lock you in a room and force you to watch every movie of either Kevin Costner, Nick Cage, Sylvester Stallone. Which one do you choose?
Ooh.
That is, we're going to have to get to that later.
That's a poll.
Before then, sports. Reeves. Go ahead and vote on that one. That's up there. I'll be interested to see. We added Keanu in there, by the way, at the end. I feel like that's good.
Yeah,
that's a good one
addition.
to add in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's talk some Monday Night Foosball, shall we?
None of them under 30.
No, according to Best Actors Under 30 list, Google. We had Monday Night Football, overtime game on Monday Night Football. Not the best of footballs in the world, but Jake Browning, what a week for Husky fans out there. This has been, I mean, you're party like it's 2016 all over again. You've got the Huskies back in the college football playoff. You got the quarterback from that team, Jake Browning, who stepped in the stead of Joe Burrow. And I'll be damned, Jake Browning played a dynamite football game.
Yeah, where the hell did that come from?
Well,
He was a 5-star recruit.
Was he?
Yeah.
I thought he was.
Well, I guess it depends on what recruiting teams. He might have been on the edge.
I mean, he's been good at every single level he's been at, right? And I always thought he would be that kind of career backup because he doesn't have the electric arm. He doesn't have all of the tangibles that you look for in a quarterback, the build. But what Jake Browning has always done, whether it was high school, college, and then what we were able to see last night, and again, I caution everybody that we have one game, right? And in the NFL, it's the athletes are so good and the coaching is so damn good. Just wait till they get a book out on him and they figure him out. But one thing that Jake Browning has always had is between the ears, he is one of the smartest quarterbacks around. That's what you always heard, whether it was him, setting the touchdowns record for high school football or nationally or in college where it was every decision was the right decision throughout his college career seemingly. And then he sits there as a backup and he kind of waits his turn, bides his time, makes a damn good living, which is an awesome job to have as a backup quarterback, especially when Joe Burrow is the guy who's starting in front of you, right? Because all of the heat is off of you. Nobody's going to be calling for you to be stepping in when Joe Burrow is the guy starting in front of you, right? The most popular guy in town is always the backup quarterback. Not when Joe Burrow is the starting quarterback.
You're pretty much unknown.
And then he comes in and doing what he did last night. I think he started 18 of his first 21.
Yes, finished 32 of 37. He was carving.
He was flawless. And look, give all of the flack to the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, which they had an opportunity last night to improve to 9-3, be the top seed in the AFC due to all the tiebreakers and the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs lost to the Green Bay Packers. But what Jake Browning was able to do, he was a distributor. He didn't screw it up. He didn't turn the ball over, and he got the damn ball to Jamar Chase. Right? Isn't that what you do if you are the quarterback of the Bengals? Is say,
listen to the wide receiver that says I'm always open, and he turns out he is.
And even when he's not,
he's open.
He had a catch in that game where when he went across the middle and he got hit, it was perfect contact on the ball. He bobbled the ball through contact and then caught it and turned his body and fell to the ground. Jamar Chase is that dude.
Yes.
He is so damn good. But Jake Browning was phenomenal. And I think, having Tyler Boyd back and getting him and T. Higgins involved as well. Look, he took exactly what the defense gave him. Were there a lot of checkdowns? Absolutely. But he was trying to drive the ball to number one. He did it effectively. You want to target Jamar Chase as many times as you can. 12 targets, 11 catches. That is good. That's a recipe for success. But he also distributed the ball to damn near everybody that was eligible to catch a pass in the game. He got it to him.
The thing about this, what was interesting is the stark contrast between when he came in, when Joe Burrow, when he came in, when Joe Burrow got hurt, he was awful. But when you gave him the preparation and the reps and the snaps, he looked different. This isn't to take away either. Like Trevor Lawrence was looking pretty damn good until he got his ankle folded like origami.
That was gross.
Yikes, dog.
I hate seeing that.
And that is confirmed now a high ankle sprain. Hopefully he's able to avoid surgery.
Yeah, they said he's not going to do the tightrope, which is good.
We'll see.
That's good.
But Browning is out there playing incredibly. And this is a game where I picked the Jaguars to go in and just stomp a mud hole in this team because I did not expect quarterback play to be anything remotely capable.
No,
into this.
And you mentioned it, like Trevor Lawrence, he was dynamite in his own right.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was making Browning. It wasn't a we're playing ahead kind of situation. Trevor Lawrence was marching him down the field.
Yeah, and I thought there was a moment there in the third quarter where I was like, all right, the clock has struck midnight. they're not going to this is it for Jake Browning, because you saw that, it's tied at 14 apiece at the half. They trade touchdowns right before the break, and then you have Cincy go down and they score, and then you have the Jacksonville touchdown, and then the interception when he threw when they had the interception, and it wasn't him that threw it. It was who the hell they tried? Tyler Boyd. No, it was Tyler Boyd. They tried to throw the ball with Tyler Boyd, and you were like, oh no. And then
have you seen how much gadget plays we've seen in like the last 6 weeks in NFL and college?
This is now when you do it.
Yeah, I mean,
this is when you
they are
unload
being
it.
unloaded.
Because you have to find those ways to keep a team honest.
Yeah.
And so in the NFL especially, this is like gadget central.
Yeah, well, the tunnel screen we saw with the 49ers with Debo, I mean, that was executed flawlessly.
Yep. And then right after that, Jacksonville went down and scored again, and I was like, this might be it for him. And no, he kept fighting, man. He kept fighting. And to force overtime, to get scores on their final 2 drives to make sure that they get to that overtime period,
including a 9-minute 9-play 5.5-minute drive.
Yeah, and then the overtime drive was incredible too, because it was this is the thing that made Jake Browning impressive. He had sustained drives. It wasn't like they were just fluky chunk plays going for big scores. That field goal to win the game in overtime was a 12-play drive.
They had 2 12-play drives in the game.
Yeah, the ability to do that with your backup quarterback, I was impressed by Jake Browning. Again, the NFL. I don't know if it's going to last, if any of it's going to be sustainable. I don't think it is. But the fact of the matter is, they got that win, and now they're keeping their hopes alive while Joe Burrow is in a sling with his UCL, because it's a cluster in the AFC. You have no idea how the AFC wild cards are going to play out. Now they're sitting there at 6-6. They're right in the thick of it. They're only 1 game out of the playoffs right now. And, this is what great teams do. I think Zach Taylor is a really good coach. He gets a ton of flack because he was almost fired before they made the playoffs a few years back. And he still just seems to be the guy that they're just like, Zach Taylor can't coach. Zach Taylor deserves a hell of a lot of credit for Jake Browning playing at the level that he did. And they have weapons galore still.
And not only that, their offensive line has had issues, which I think has been the biggest impediment for that team.
Yep.
Defensively, they've been okay. I mean, if they had the other Ohio team's defense, you give them the Browns' defense, and I don't think it's even close. They're not a Super Bowl contender. They're a Super Bowl favorite.
Yep. If
Joe Burrow's healthy. I don't think you can necessarily hold back or judge a coach entirely when all the tools aren't there.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can do it in a place like Los Angeles where all the tools are there and they still suck.
The
Rams, I'm talking about, for case anyone was wondering.
Well, and the Chargers, where all the...
Oh, sorry, I said the Rams. I meant to say the Chargers. Thank you. I got my LA teams confused.
No, you can say the both.
Yeah.
Both. But the Rams are sitting there too, because these wild card races are just bananas across the NFL.
In both conferences.
And there's a lot of teams you don't trust. And I after watching Monday Night Football last night, especially now that Trevor Lawrence getting stepped on by his offensive lineman, and then the way he folded back on that leg too, I was like, oh, God, I hope it's not a knee. When they immediately kind of ruled out a knee injury, I was blown away about the flexibility of Trevor Lawrence, the pliability, man. That guy bent. I mean, his foot was trapped
stepped
underneath
on and
him,
then rolled under.
And I was like, oh, no.
The first thing I thought was fracture.
High ankle sprain is brutal.
Yeah, because that's typically minimum high ankle sprains are 6 weeks.
But now, what do you do? Like, who do you trust now in the NFL? And I think that's a really interesting conversation. We'll get to that coming up after Big Kahuna with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
If you've been arrested for DUI, you need a team of attorneys that you can put your trust into. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today, online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on The Fan, the Pac-12 well represented in this year's Heisman Trophy finalists, Oregon quarterback Bo Nix and Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr., both making the trip to New York for the ceremony. They'll be joined by LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels and Ohio State receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. The winner will be announced Saturday evening. Some more local transfer portal news. Oregon defensive back Triquez Bridges and Oregon State defensive back Jermod McCoy have both entered the transfer portal. ESPN reporting Oklahoma transfer quarterback Dylan Gabriel will visit Oregon soon, and the Ducks are believed to be the favorite for his services. In the NFL, Jaguars head coach Doug Peterson said this morning Trevor Lawrence indeed suffered a high ankle sprain in last night's overtime loss to the Bengals, and that everything looks, quote, stable. His status for Sunday at the Browns is still uncertain. Peterson also said receiver Christian Kirk suffered a core muscle injury that will likely require surgery. CBS Sports' Josina Anderson reporting the Jets signing quarterback Brett Rippon off Seattle's practice squad and are releasing Tim Boyle. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting Patriots running back Ramondre Stevenson suffered a high ankle sprain in the first quarter of Sunday's loss to the Chargers and is expected to miss a few weeks. Giants head coach Brian Daboll says Tommy DeVito will start under center Monday night against the Packers. Trailblazers are off tonight. They wrap up their 5-game trip tomorrow night at Golden State. However, the NBA in-season tournament quarterfinal play continues tonight. TNT's doubleheader starts at 4:30 with the Knicks at the Bucks. Milwaukee are 5.5-point favorites. That's followed by the Suns as 1.5-point dogs at the Lakers. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rush at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino brings you big games on big screens with big-time sports betting action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't send you a bill. Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
And Jake Browning in the Cincinnati Bengals had other plans in mind. And my favorite tweet from last night, great uniform matchup, in my opinion. I liked it. Great tweet from, I don't know who Colton McWilliams is, but he said, I appreciate Jacksonville and Cincinnati paying tribute to their mascots by wearing their alternate uniforms, which are also alternate versions of their mascots. The Jags went blacked out, black Jaguar look, and the Bengals went Siberian Tiger look, which is fantastic.
Which also, when I think Jaguar, I think black.
Yeah.
So
I think spots. I think
you know,
spots.
the cat on their helmet has spots.
Yeah,
I know.
I think spotted.
Really
cat.
though, I see.
Yeah.
But my natural inclination, even though they have the spotted one, is that
Might just be a football guy, you know. Maybe that's it with me. Like I'm just the only Jaguars I subscribe to are the Jacksonville Jaguars and the South Alabama Jaguars. That's the only two that I can name.
there you go.
Huh?
Yeah.
And the Century Jaguars.
Oh, there
Shout
you go.
out Century High School.
Who completely ripped off the Jacksonville Jaguars logo, but no, they didn't.
Don't pay attention to that.
Don't pay attention.
Don't
to that.
pay no attention
Don't
to
pay
that.
attention to that.
Yeah. My dad has a starter jacket, you know, the pullover
Yeah.
ones, where
With the big Jaguar in the back.
with the elongated Jaguar, like right when
Yeah.
they got it, and the motor company was like, no,
Mhm.
we're gonna sue you,
Yeah,
and you need to change that immediately.
but he has one.
And he still wears it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like my dad he's a special one in that regard.
My aunt knew I was a football fan as a kid, and the Panthers and Jaguars expansion just happened. It was what 94?
Yep.
And so I don't know why she got me a ton of Carolina Panther stuff.
Oh,
So like I had like the OG black and
Yeah.
teal
sure.
Panthers starter
Teal was so
jacket.
hot back then.
Oh, it was, man. That thing and the Charlotte Hornets starter jacket,
Yeah.
those both slap so hard.
Hornets, Diamondbacks, Panthers, even the Jags. I mean, it was Teal was in.
But I had that, and then I had the Michelin Ness snapback.
All right.
And I wasn't a Panthers fan, but
Hey, you wore it.
isn't it kind of weird though when you talk about the Jaguars going with the black cat? That's kind of being a Carolina Panther.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they went almost same mascot.
Yeah.
Almost same mascot. Yep.
Completely derailed this. Sorry.
Nope, it's okay. We have though. Which teams do you trust in the AFC and the NFC? Because I think that question, as we're getting close, as we go march down the season, it's crazy to me to think that the New England Patriots are 2-10 right now, and have not been statistically eliminated from the AFC playoff race.
The AFC.
We're entering Week 14.
The AFC is the better conference, but the trust factor is so stupidly varied across the AFC, whereas the NFC is much more shallow. But the top three teams I trust,
Okay.
like the Eagles, Niners, Lions, trust them.
I still don't trust the Lions.
I do.
I don't trust them because their defense has games where they're just like, where'd they go?
It's all vibes.
Where are they?
Yeah.
They're not here. I don't know where they're. They just signed a defensive tackle off the scrap heap, and they're like, he's probably going to play for us.
Mm.
That the Lions are one, and it is one, Jared Goff.
Mhm.
Two, their defense is topsy-turvy. They come and they go. You know, but to your point though, I do find myself, and I put that second tier of trustworthy teams. I have Detroit and I have Dallas in there, where it's like there's something I do not trust about either one of their defenses. 35 points to the Seahawks. But you sit there and you're like, all right, there's still a really damn good team. And I'm not being fooled by Dallas Cowboys. I want this to be very clear. I'm not fooled
that's
by
why
the
I was
Dallas
like,
Cowboys.
You're watching on YouTube. I made a face because nope.
But at the same time, all right, look at the second tier of the AFC, and you tell me, do you trust those teams at all? Because I think the top tier teams in the AFC, the Chiefs, I still do trust. The Baltimore Ravens, I do trust. The Miami Dolphins, they're in that second tier, and I do not trust them even as electric as their offense is. In the fact they went through a lull, and every team goes through a lull throughout the season, and they look pretty damn good right now, and their point differential is through the roof. I have my questions, especially late in the year when you have to go and play games where it's not going to be sunny, it's not going to be 70. They need home field advantage. The best thing that happened to them was the Jacksonville Jaguars losing last night, Monday Night Football, because they can control their own destiny. But if they have to go to Baltimore, who are you going to trust in Baltimore in January? The Ravens or the Dolphins?
I mean, the or the Dolphins don't win in cold weather. So
that's my thing is that the top tier of the NFC is very strong. I think the top tier of the AFC is very strong. But
I push back on that ever so slightly.
okay.
I think I would put every top team in the AFC on the same tier as the Lions as far as trust. I have lost significant faith in the Chiefs. And
yeah,
it's not
you can do that.
It's not Patrick Mahomes. Trust him, trust Andy Reid, trust Travis Kelce. Everybody else in that team, nope.
We've gone through this with all of them though at times, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs, we lose faith in them almost every year.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, everybody's like, yeah, now Mahomes is going to have to leave Kansas City for a playoff game. Is he?
Probably not.
Is he?
Like the division sucks.
Yeah.
So he's gonna win the division.
Yeah. I mean, they got Buffalo this week, they have Buffalo this week. Then they have the Patriots, Raiders, Bengals, Chargers. No Joe Burrow, and the Chargers. What are they playing for at the end of the year?
Yeah.
You know, like
It's
that
not their
will be
coach's
the
job.
That will be the question. Yeah, even when they're playing for their coach's job, who knows what the hell they're gonna what they got and what they're going up against. I could see the Kansas City Chiefs winning their final 5, being 13-4, and being the number 1 seed in the AFC again.
They're only a game back of the Ravens and
Dolphins.
the Dolphins,
Dolphins.
right now. Yeah,
And again, Lamar has been fantastic for the Ravens this year. I still don't trust him to drive the ball down the field when it matters because we haven't seen it yet.
Well, and they got the Niners and the Dolphins still remaining on their schedule.
And we'll see kind of how they stack up in that regard.
They got
also
a one-game cushion with the Dolphins and the Niners. That's why I'm sitting there like, we can ride off the Chiefs at our own peril.
But everybody else
I'm
is
not
going to
doing
eat
it.
themselves alive.
And they're going to get right at the right time.
But you look at the Eagles and 49ers and even the Lions for me.
Yeah.
10-2, 9-3, 9-3, and they're all three going to run away with their divisions.
Yeah.
They're going to run away with their divisions. And so you look at that and you go, okay, they're probably all going to win at least 12, probably 13 games.
Yeah.
And by the time this is all wrapped up, the final game of the season or the final 2 games of the season for the Eagles, where they play the Giants 2 out of 3 with the Cardinals in between, they're going to be resting guys.
Maybe.
So you're like, as far as the trust factor goes, like you're going to see teams like start to
resting guys in such tight races, though. That's the thing, is that nobody's running away with either conference. I think that's fun. I think that's great.
I think you had 3 teams in each conference that you go, yeah, okay, I trust. Varying levels. But I think
It's fun.
The more interesting conversation comes around, like, of the wild card teams, which one is the team here is poised to make a run? Because you get one almost every year.
And that is a lot harder to find.
Yep.
503-864-6326. This is Danny Dusty on the Fan.
Seahawks football is on the
I just got done saying in the last segment, I do not believe in the Dallas Cowboys. In the NFC,
No.
if you're telling me a team that makes a run in the postseason out of the NFC in being a wild card, it would be the Dallas Cowboys because I don't trust Minnesota to do it with Josh Dobbs. Jordan Love is coming around in Green Bay, maybe. Seattle has got too many issues and too much ground to make up at this point because right now they don't even hold the tiebreaker over the Rams because the Rams have beat them twice and they have the same record, right? So you're sitting there and you're looking at that and going, they've got an uphill climb. Still don't trust them. And the AFC side, Pittsburgh, no. Cleveland, no. They don't have a quarterback.
There's one team in here
Indy, no.
No.
Houston,
that one.
no.
I don't.
No.
If out of all of them,
Buffalo is the one that is, and they have a ton of ground to make up because they have been an absolute roller coaster.
Yes.
Their defense is aging. It looks old. They play old. They need to
they might have lost their
exercise some demons.
Elite pass rusher and Von Miller.
But Houston is very young, and that is where I go.
Never goes well.
Never.
Here is my
Never.
my pushback is that CJ Stroud appears to be different, and he will still get eaten alive by the playoffs because it does that to young quarterbacks. But D'Amico Ryans has a level of experience that he has imparted to this team that nobody saw coming.
Yep.
Nobody anticipated this team being this good.
Absolutely. He's a great coach.
On both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
And so, of all of these teams, I don't trust the Cowboys because Cowboys lull. Like I'll believe it when I see it with that team and that franchise. They find ways to sideshow Bob this and step on the rake every single time.
Yeah.
The Browns have an elite defense, but their offense is comically bad.
Very bad.
The
Very,
Bills,
very bad.
throw your hands up. They're like the Minnesota Vikings last year, except they're coming up on the wrong side of the one-score games.
Feels like they have lost faith in McDermott.
They have regressed significantly. Josh Allen's still fantastic, but okay.
I asked this question with the Houston Texans. Which game do you believe is the one on their schedule that they've played or that they will play where you will go, that's a damn good win?
Jacksonville, 37-17.
When was that?
That was week 3.
Week 3.
How about the Bengals, 30-27
No.
4 weeks ago with Joe
No.
Burrow out there?
No.
No?
Mm-mm. No. Not that win. Because the Bengals, we've talked about how much of a roller coaster they've been this year.
I mean, when have they been disappointing? The Panthers is the only game on here, I think.
Yeah.
At the Panthers, 15-13.
Yeah, they lost to the Panthers. And then you go all the way back to the start of the season where they got rolled by Baltimore, but a lot of teams do. And that's the thing is that they are, and this is where I go back to, they're very young. They are on the right track. And Tank Dell being out, that is
hurts. Yeah,
huge
broken
for
leg.
Them.
But
moving forward.
they
and
have,
then the war of attrition as the season goes on, right? And teams start adapting and start slowing you down. I agree. I love CJ Stroud. I am all in on CJ Stroud. I love D'Amico Ryans, too, as a head coach. He's done a phenomenal job every stop that he's been at, whether it's position, coordinator, or now a head coach. And the guys are pulling in the same direction. And their roster is built the right way.
Yeah,
Like, they
it
have
makes sense.
balance on their roster. They do. But when you look at it and you go, it's early. And they're going to actually have to play really damn good teams. Like, really good teams.
Down the stretch, though, I think this is actually good for them because they're going to get tested by 2 really good defenses that don't have offenses. The Jets, then the Titans, then the Browns, then the Titans, then the Colts.
Sure. Yeah, Browns and Jets defenses are good. Yeah.
I think you'll get an understanding
there.
of how they could handle a playoff caliber defense.
I love the fact that they have turned it around in relatively short order. It shows you how quickly it can happen.
If you just get it right.
Yeah. And getting it right is the hardest thing. But they had a phenomenal draft. They've stacked actually a couple really good drafts together. And I will believe in the Houston Texans in the future. I will. I will. I think
if you're
they're
buying
really
a stock to hold, it's
absolutely.
For sure.
100%. 503-864-6326. The NCAA doing something right? Now they'll screw it up. Next on The Fan. Who are you choosing? Kevin Costner, Sly Stallone, Nick Cage, or Keanu Reeves? We have a lot. We have a lot of votes in right now. Keep voting. We'll address this later in the show. Kevin Costner currently leading with 39.6% of the vote. Keanu Reeves, 39%.
That's one vote away.
Nick Cage is 17%, and old Sly.
Stallone.
Did you see the little kid do the Rocky speech
No.
in Philly? Oh, watch it. Stallone was doing like a meet and greet in front of his Rocky statue in Philly, and a kid came up and just started giving the, Sunshine and Rainbows speech, and he was just like going at him the whole time, like, because that's the difference between, going on the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was like Stallone was like interjecting, and he was a part of it. It was really cool. It was awesome. That kid's going to, one, that kid watches way too much Rocky.
Stage social media.
But two, it was really cool. It was a really cool video. Even if they were acting, good acting in that social media
there you
video.
Go. He's under 30.
That kid?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Hollywood,
Maybe he's like
Hollywood does things
Gary
these days.
Coleman or
I think there
Webster.
are parts of Sly's face that are under 30.
I think all
there's
of
a
it
lot
is.
of it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We found out today the NCAA is trying to do something that will actually lead to its survival. It's just a crazy thing. They seem to have been working against themselves for the last, 40 years. Now they're trying to do something right. Charlie Baker is the new president of the NCAA, and he offered up a proposal to D1 members this morning. And there were rumblings about this yesterday because all the movers and shakers are in Las Vegas, Nevada, trying to figure out the future of college sports and having their big, a big conference. That's what you do when you want to spend money, and you make billions of dollars every year, and you don't really do anything like the NCAA does. You host big conferences, right?
Got to spend it somewhere. Otherwise, the government starts looking.
Yeah. What Charlie Baker is doing is basically he's proposing a complete restructure and reform of the FBS subdivision. This would be college football.
Yes. This is the NCAA's push for relevance going forward because of what's currently happening at Congress, where there is a dividing line between student athletes, remaining student athletes, or becoming employees.
We have seen the chasm grow between the Power Five or Autonomous Five and the Group of Five conferences. The Autonomous Five, which is about to be the Autonomous Four, with the Pac-12 going bye-bye, is they spend at a level that is not commensurate with the other teams that are supposed to be vying for a championship at the same level. The FBS, where you have the Mountain West Conference USA, Fun Belt, MACtion, American Athletic Conference, most of the independents, excluding Notre Dame, they have no shot of winning a national title.
No.
We know they have no shot at the national title. Hell, we're going to see it this weekend or this bowl season at the beginning of next month, less than a month away. A 13-0 Liberty team is going to play the Oregon Ducks in the Fiesta Bowl, and they went 13-0, and they're ranked 23rd in the country.
And they're probably, even with a bunch of Ducks sitting out or opting out, are probably going to get rolled.
And what they are proposing now is this breakaway division, which is you will truly have your haves and your have-nots. I've been a proponent of this for a long time.
Yes.
Because look at the FCS. Look at the pride that programs like Montana State, North Dakota State, South Dakota State, have in winning a championship at the FCS level. It truly is. I mean, it means a lot.
Yes.
You cannot tell those fan bases.
Lifebloods of communities. Look, man, I lived 40 minutes from Fargo. We would go down to North Dakota State games, and this is 20 years ago. And it was everything. You had UND hockey, and you had North Dakota State football. And that was the beginning of their powerhouse run. And even 20 years ago, it was through and through the lifeblood of that community.
And if you look at some of these athletic departments, that it means a whole heck of a lot. Like James Madison is a great example of this. They're now playing at the FBS level. But as a member of the Colonial Athletic Association, when they were playing FCS, they had a top 70, revenue in all of college athletics.
Which, again, that number that you just mentioned, 70,
Yeah,
is
they're
very
61st.
is very important in the sense of this, because as we go on, I will highlight Ross Dellinger ultimately believes through discussions that 70-ish schools will opt into this program, because that's the thing it is not a requirement. It is an opt-in, opt-out situation.
Now, there's a lot that has to go into this, right? And
There's a lot.
it is going to be more convoluted
Mm-hmm.
than it is crystal clear, and it's going to make it a whole lot tougher. And this is where you have this break between the haves and the have-nots that we already see play out. Hell, we already see it play out in the Power 5 conferences.
This is just recognizing it fully.
Look at the way the Pac-12 shook out and its destruction and demise, right? Oregon and Oregon State, they are not on the same footing as Oregon, Washington, and some of their peers within their own conference. And it is clear that the revenues that those schools bring in and the expenses that those schools put out are nowhere near what Oregon State and Washington State are.
Exponentially different.
So in order to do this, for entry into the subdivision, schools are required to deposit annually at least $30,000 per student athlete into a trust for their school's athletes. Now, this is where it gets really gray, is that when you have football programs, when you have basketball programs, this is not just the men's side of things, because they're doing this in order to make them not employees and to hold their, their charity status, right? Their nonprofit status, I should say. They have got to adhere to Title IX.
Yes.
And they want to make it so you cannot be a for-profit, athletes are employees, but what they want to do is they want to bring in name, image, and likeness
in-house
into the school.
Yes.
No more collectives out there subverting coaches and athletic departments, throwing money at guys and recruits that some of the coaches don't even want there,
No.
but the boosters seem to think it's a great idea. And
this is also, when you bring things like this in-house, you start opening up the doors for, again, this is what they're trying to, the whole idea of this is to stop this from happening. But the closer and more you pull this in-house, the more it makes them look like employees, which opens up the doors for that legislation occurring, because then you get players coming together, forming a players union, collective bargaining, and then they start getting into revenue sharing. And that's where the NCAA, in my opinion, is trying to stave this off to keep their relevancy, to keep their cut of the pie. Yep. That is what they are trying to do. No. Hey, look, we get it. We've been wrong for the last 65 years. We're more than willing to give up basically everything so we can continue existing.
It is right to treat FBS football programs and those athletic departments differently than all the other ones.
Yes.
Though, because I find it very interesting that Baker puts it as FBS and not Division I, because FBS tells you that this is football related, and the teams that are on a different footing financially are those Power 5 football programs.
And you and I went through this before the show, going through schools. We came to 72. That would be the viable number, and that would essentially come to what we had talked about all summer long during all of the conference stuff was what? 80 teams.
Yeah.
2 40-team super conferences, and this is about as close as it gets.
And it's going to be really hard for that, because you will have a big gap even if you get to that 72, because we were looking at revenues and kind of how they break out, and
55th is where it cuts off.
Like, it's a massive gap. It's about $15 million in revenue from 55 to 60. Yeah. And then you go up, there's another break off where it's like 55 to 40, and it's like $20 million. Like, I mean, it is a big gap that you're going to be seeing, where you have universities like, to put that into perspective here, if you were to go 72, if you're just going straight off of revenue generated alone,
because,
right?
And again, you can't, there's a couple things in here that part of this is, there are private schools, name USC, that are not included in this because they're not required to disclose that information.
And we know
they'd be in
hand over fist.
Yeah.
They generate money. So if I would just take Washington State, right, which they're one of the lowest revenue generators of any of the Power Fives, right? Their total revenue that they generate, and this is from, I think, 2 years ago, because we're almost all the way to the 2023. being a factor. So you have Oregon State is at $83 million of revenue. Okay. They're 54th nationally. Okay. If you go up to 35, you reach Kansas. Okay. We've moved 20 spots, right? They go from $83 million in revenue, and you go all the way up to $118 million. Okay. The gap between Oregon State and Oregon, which is the top revenue generator of the public universities for the Pac-12, is $153 million. They're at 19th nationally.
Yeah.
Number one is Ohio State at $251 million. That's the gap you're talking about.
Yeah.
And when you talk about $30,000 per student athlete, you also have to look at how big your athletic department is, right? And you just take
per scholarship athlete.
You take, well, it's yes, but you take how many sports, and if this is Title IX regulated, right? So we just talked about how Oregon is far outpacing Oregon State in their revenues at $153 million to $83 million, right? That's a massive gap right there. $70 million that we're talking right there alone, okay? Oregon has 20 varsity sports for 450 athletes. Oregon State has 559 student athletes. They have more athletic programs. They have more athletes, and you're talking $30,000 for every single one of those athletes at a scholarship. That now we're talking, all right, so these schools that aren't generating as much revenue have more student athletes. They've got to close that gap even more, and that's where this thing gets even harder. And even in this haves and have-nots structure of FBS, you have that gap still. But this is just kind of solidifying that we know the playing field is not level. We know that if we go down the road, we still are, with collectives and NIL being detached from the universities, that Congress is going to step in, and we're not even going to exist at all. So every other sport outside of football and basketball, where do they go? How do they operate? What umbrella are they under? This is just a save face for the NCAA.
That's exactly it right there. Because when this is all said and done, and I've said it 1,000 times at this point, the NCAA needs to go away. They serve no purpose in football. They're
in football. We all agree on that.
They're done in football, which they don't want to be done in because that's where the money is. Which what will happen is they'll take their BS to basketball, and we'll have to deal with the stupidity of it there. But in football, they're done. They're gone. Like, this is a last thing. The reason you have a commissioner coming in on the heels of Mark Emmert, the worst freaking commissioner the NCAA has ever had, who fought every single advancement tooth and nail for 20 years, going this hard the other way, is because he sees the comet coming.
Yep.
That's the problem.
Everybody is looking at NIL as the catalyst for this, and that is true. That is it. There are other layers to this that garner a different level of football, and we will have yet another tier of college football. We will have the 5th tier of college football, because currently you have FBS, FCS, Division II, Division III. We are going to get a 5th tier
and
of college
FBS
football.
subdivision division.
There is a lot more control that happens when you do get that 5th tier, and we'll get to that next. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
The Ducks get their postseason
considered Division I programs, but we know that there's a financial just absolute canyon between the haves and the have-nots. And in the release and in the letter that was sent to decision makers across the Division I schools, this was eye-popping to me. 59 Division I schools spend over $100 million annually on their athletic programs. 59. There's currently, I think there's 70 or 69 if you include Notre Dame, 69 Power 5 schools.
Mm-hmm.
Only 59 spend over $100 million a year on their athletic departments. Mm-hmm. And if you want to look at it and you say, okay, how did some of these schools get left behind even though they have tradition? Well, two of the ones that don't spend $100 million a year, Oregon State and Washington State. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You look at some of the ones that were able to, Colorado's up at $95 million. They spend on athletics. Mm-hmm. UCLA's at $131 million that they spend on athletics.
God, what are they wasting that money on?
A lot of stupid stuff. But there's 31 or 32 Division I schools that spend over $50 million on their athletic departments. So think about that. You're at 59 that are over $100 million. You have 32 that are over $50 million. 259 Division I schools spend less than $50 million on athletics.
Cowards.
That is why this is needed.
Mm-hmm.
That because you have schools that are playing FBS, like say a San Jose State,
mm-hmm.
where everything else is not, they're at FCS funding for everything
Yes.
else, right? So it doesn't make sense for this to happen, for them to be playing in the same on the same playing field.
No.
So split it off, make a new championship, put NIL, have your haves and your have-nots, play under different sets of rules. We went down this road a few years ago when they passed the Autonomous Five, where the Autonomous Five are the 5 power conferences, and they do have different recruiting standards, different calendars, and different ways that they can operate financially. Well, what this is also going to do, if this passes, it's not just the NIL, it's not just the NCAA saying we can't control the power football conferences and we shouldn't be controlling of them. We don't control their playoff anyways. So why should we control how they operate? This is going to go into things like what Michigan is being popped for right now, right? There was a rule saying that you can't do advanced scouting because of why? Because some schools couldn't afford to do advanced scouting weeks in advance. So you can't send somebody live. You can't send them to film their signals anyways, but you can't do advanced scouting in a stadium. You would also have that. And then you would have different scholarship restrictions. You would have coaching staff limitations being lifted to where if you wanted to have 15 full-time coaches, go ahead and do it. You can only have 10 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes sense because if you want to be in on it, you've got to be able to push all in.
Yes.
And this is where you sit there and you look at it and you go, some of the schools that are feeling left behind or that are being dragged along into some of the power conferences, it may be better for them to play at the other FBS level. Right? Because you financially, you're not on the same footing and you'll be left behind in this new one as well.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what conference you are in, right? If you're in the Big 12 and you're Arizona or Arizona State, I'm not talking just about Oregon State and Washington State, but if you are Arizona State where you're not on the same financial footing as the top programs in the Big 10, the SEC, you're going to be left behind even further than you are now under these new rules. So maybe that FBS where you're not in the top tier is better for your program. I know that sucks to hear, and there's a lot of people like, "Oh, we want to play at the top level."
There is a flip side of this, though.
Maybe have relegation.
Well, to that point, the way it is discussed by Ross Dellinger is this is an opt-in, opt-out situation where if you can't do it anymore, you're out.
Yeah,
and so that is a thing, and this is what I think is interesting. This is a way for the Oregon States, the Washington States, the Arizona States, where if they want to do this, ante up and do it, you can, but you would probably have to wait until the next TV deal to see if you can actually be a bigger part of that to allow you to be in that game.
I wonder for Oregon State and Washington State fans, in this format, where you're not dropping down to the FCS. And one of the things is like you want to be able to compete at the level you're playing at, right? We have seen now that everybody else has has thumbed their nose at Washington State and Oregon State.
Mhm.
And fair or unfair, that is what has happened. And you look at the financials of it, we just went through it, right? The gap between Oregon State, Washington State, and the other Power Fives from revenues and spending, even when they're in the Pac-12, have been astronomical. This gap will make it even further. Would playing at the FBS that is not the power level, that is not part of this opt-in, and winning a national championship and carving out your road there, and then saying, all right, we've done it. Can we make that jump after getting some footing? Is that more palatable for you to not feel like you're just being left behind and saying, we're never going to be able to win a national championship, we're never going to be able to reach the mountaintop again? Is this a way and a pathway to get back to that relevance in a new structured college football? That's a legitimate question I have for
Yes.
Coug and B fans, because to me on the outside, I'm saying, yeah, that sounds a lot better than being completely shut out as they are right now and saying, what is our pathway forward? Because we have seen that these programs that are in those smaller conferences or at a lesser level, they can make a butt ton of money, have their fan base rejuvenated, have a passionate fan base, and say, we can win that national title, and then you can make your jump and move your way up the ladder. Hell, Boise State is a prime example of this.
Yes.
Boise State was a junior college, then they played Division II football, then they went to the FCS level, and then they went to the FBS level, and they have made themselves a damn good football. Is it easy? No. It's not. But as it stands right now, the financial footing just isn't there.
Smurf turf ain't free.
It's not. And it's not. And their facilities are great. Their tradition is fantastic. And they were able to do it the right way. You have to have your ducks in a row. And here's the thing about Oregon State and Washington State that gives you a head start is the fact that your facilities are fantastic.
Top notch, yeah.
They're fantastic right now. You don't have to sit there and make that climb and dig out of that hole nearly as steep as some of these other programs are. I think that's an interesting thing, because this is going to be – the NCAA just wants Congress off their back. They know that they are in an unredeemable situation with the way that the top level of FBS is spending compared to everybody else. They need to find a way to break it off, and this is the easiest way to do it because they really have no control over football anyways.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see which way this progresses. It's an interesting alternative. I still think in the end they're going to end up being employees. But
I do too. 100%. 100%.
Yeah. So whether or not this is some little Hail Mary that allows the NCAA to stay around relevant for 5 more years, whatever. I'd rather see it burn in hell. But hey, that's just me. Coming up next on our worst day in the web. I don't hide my feelings with the NCAA. Coming up next on the worst day on the web.
Yeah, just with the NCAA.
What does and doesn't fly for content creation when it comes to YouTube? Danny and Dusty. But first, here is your Big Kahuna Sports and Update.
That's that Hawaiian burger joint.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Toro Mexican Kitchen. Transport yourself to Baja, Mexico with delicious regional dishes and cocktails. Book your table today at toropdx.com. First on The Fan, Pac-12 award season is upon us. Oregon quarterback Bo Nix has been named Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year. Nix also, of course, named the first-team quarterback. He's joined on the first-team offense by receiver Troy Franklin, tight end Terrence Ferguson, and center Jackson Powers Johnson. As for the defense on the first team, defensive lineman Brandon Dorless and defensive back Kyrie Jackson, Bucky Irving, linebacker Jeffrey Bassa, and defensive back Evan Williams all made the second team. As for Oregon State, first-teamers are running back Damian Martinez, offensive lineman Jesse Fuaga, offensive lineman Jake Levengood, and linebacker Easton Mascarenas Arnold. Second teamers are tight end Jack Velling, offensive lineman Tanner Miller, offensive lineman Joshua Gray, defensive lineman Sione Lolohea, and defensive back Katan Oladapo. Silas Bolden makes the second team as a return specialist. As for the transfer portal, Oregon defensive back Triquez Bridges and Oregon State defensive back Jermod McCoy have entered the portal. ESPN reporting Oklahoma transfer quarterback Dylan Gabriel will visit Oregon soon, and the Ducks are believed to be the favorite for his services. In the NFL, Jaguars head coach Doug Peterson said this morning Trevor Lawrence suffered a high ankle sprain in last night's overtime loss to the Bengals. His status for Sunday at the Browns is still unknown. And on the hard court, Trailblazers are off tonight. They wrap up their 5-game trip tomorrow night at Golden State, but NBA in-season tournament quarterfinal play continues tonight. TNT's doubleheader starts at 4:30 with the Knicks at the Bucks. Milwaukee are 5.5-point favorites. That's followed by the Suns as 1.5-point dogs at the Lakers. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Russ at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino brings you big games on big screens with big-time sports betting action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Every day, get the NFL headlines delivered straight to you. Follow the Best Football Show with Brian Baldinger on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Sponsored by ChumbaCasino.com. With over 100 online casino-style games, Chumba Casino is your destination for nonstop entertainment. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Get a great deal.
Worst day on the web with Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Well, that sucks.
You know, a lot of times they say dudes can just sit around and name NBA bench role players.
Oh, yeah, let's do that.
I actually did this.
Robert Pack,
Tracy Murray.
Oh, God. Stacey Ogman.
Ennis Watley.
We can literally do this. I did this with somebody the other day, and I was like, are we really doing this right now? We just went through and named 2004 NBA draft
Danny
players.
Young.
You're killing me. Ron Harper. But sometimes we also get other ideas, like maybe I should hop in a plane and fake crash the plane, but also intentionally crash it.
Not a
jump
good
out
idea.
of it with a parachute and film it was part of a product sponsorship.
Not a good idea.
Which is actually what happened when
Not a good idea.
A 30-year-old Trevor Jacob decided in December of 2021 to eject from his plane, just so happened with his parachute on when he started filming and selfie stick in hand.
This is not good.
He has been sentenced to 6 months in jail for crashing his plane intentionally and lying to federal prosecutors about it.
So this is the whole internet gone stupid. You can watch Danny and Dusty and all of the 1080 The Fan local shows on youtube.com/1080am The Fan.
Indeed.
Please like and subscribe.
It's like a crashing plane.
You can go ahead and you can watch all of these shows. Hell, we may even start doing this because this guy, this was part of a YouTube stunt where apparently he's former military or something like that.
Former snowboarder, I know that.
Oh, Olympian. That's what he is. He's a former Olympian, close to the military, right? Nope. But he's a former Olympian, and he now just does his YouTube videos, and he's a pilot. And so he got in and got like this endorsement deal with a wallet company who was like, hey, let's do some sort of stunt. And his bright idea was, I know what I'll do. I'm going to go and I'm going to fly my plane up and then jump out of it and say that I had an engine malfunction. And it's going to be like this video that it's going to be awesome because people are going to be like, oh my gosh, this guy's a hero. And what, I don't know what the whole payoff was like. Hey, look what survived. Me and my wallet.
My wallet.
You know? But what he jumps
I would
out
have
of the
loved to
plane,
have heard the pitch on this.
and then he ends up like telling the FAA, like, oh no, it was like a mechanical malfunction. I don't know what happened. People end up watching it, including, I don't know, the FAA.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, do you always fly with your parachute on, bud?
Mm-hmm.
With
a selfie stick handy?
Apparently he didn't, like, there are cameras all over the plane, which YouTuber, I guess he's like, I can get away with that. But the whole, you're wearing your parachute as you take off and you didn't have to put this thing on. That's a T you want to cross and an I you want to dot.
Yeah.
Right? Is how do I make this believable? Not, I go up every time assuming I'm going to crash, so I wear my parachute. No, wrong. And then you go and you crash it into like protected lands of a state park.
Which could cause, like, I don't know, a fire.
California was never on fire. No, definitely not. And then he said, I don't know where it crashed. I got out of there. And apparently where his whole story fell apart was because he's a YouTuber, he went back to the crash site and like recovered some cameras so he could get his footage for everything. He went back later and they're like, well, that kind of goes right in the face of you, I don't know, not knowing where your plane crashed. This is all-time dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what Dan Lanning was right about Colorado, right? They're in it for clicks.
I didn't know where you were trying to land that plane.
No. Well, this guy didn't either.
No.
What the lengths that these people will go to that are YouTubers and TikTokers is actually pretty gross.
This is what I was talking about like 2-3 years ago when TikTok first came out. It was all fun, original content stuff. Now it's everything's trying to do something. Like, did you see the guy who shot the YouTube guy?
No.
So in a mall, this guy like comes up and pretends to be kind of a cop and accosts this guy or a security guard and accosts this guy and gets in his face and he draws and shoots him.
Oh.
They let him go.
See, these people are idiots.
Well, yeah. No, they let the guy who drew the gun and shot him go because there's video of the entire thing and the guy clearly felt threatened.
But here, he's like, this YouTube stunt's going to be awesome. This will go off just fine. Nobody will ever get me. What if there's somebody hiking where that plane goes down?
Yeah.
What if it starts the wildfire, like you said? What about the hundreds of thousands of dollars that it takes to clean up a crash site like that? Because I don't know, you're taking
chemicals into the forest.
Well, chemicals, the jet fuel, or not jet fuel, but the gas for your plane. Mm-hmm. Just the fact that there's debris everywhere because it's a plane crashing into the side of a mountain.
That would force these people to think about somebody other than themselves, which they are inherently incapable of.
But
I think it's like part of the circle of life, like when a ship sinks and becomes like a reef. They're thinking, oh, the plane will just crash and it'll become a part of the everlasting life cycle of the wildlife.
Just in the ultimate, you can't fix stupid.
No.
I'm crazy. Like in his comments to the judge after he said like, yeah, this is fair. I deserve it. I'm sitting there like, dude, you deserve more than just 6 months for your sheer stupidity.
Yeah,
Let's keep you out of
6 months for stupidity alone, and then 6 more months for the crime.
Yeah, let's just keep you out of the population for a while.
Make sure you can't reproduce.
I wonder if they like wrote into there too, like, no boy, you can't be on YouTube anymore.
Yeah, sterilize
Like,
them and kick them off YouTube.
No more YouTube for you. You've been internet grounded. Tom Haverford of Parks and Rec, where he was texting while he was driving and he crashed his car, and the judge was like, it says here that I'm texting while I'm driving. Oops, just crashed. That's basically what this guy did, and they took his phone from him. This is what this guy needs. It's like you just need to say, take yourself out of that.
I mean, he's got to lose his pilot's license, right?
Oh, yeah, that's got to be gone. I mean,
Right?
yeah, they're not messing around with that. No, he's
You
gone.
intentionally crashed the
Like,
plane.
it takes a lot to lose your pilot's license too. I remember one time my stepdad took my brother and I up in a plane. He was like old. He's an old police guy. It was the only time I ever went in a plane with him because I was like, I remember looking at my brother going, this is how we die.
Yeah.
Like we were in like small planes, like the takeoff is always a little wobbly.
Oh, yeah.
Nope, it was way worse than that. We were just sitting there like white knuckling it the entire time. It was supposed to be like a fun day where we went somewhere and we went out to lunch and then we fly back.
Mhm.
It was not fun at all.
I
Like
told
it was
you-
terrifying the entire time because he was old. He was going through his pre-flight routine, like checking the plane, and he's like, "Nah, I think it's all right." It's like, no, this is
No.
not. It takes a lot for you to get your pilot's license
I
revoked.
mean, I've told you about my one of my best friends who's a fighter pilot who will remain nameless, so he doesn't get investigated. We used to hop in his Piper Cub Cessna and do what's called paper chasing, which is you go nose up, you throw a roll of toilet paper out the window, you cut the engine, and you chase the paper with your prop.
Oh dear Lord.
Yeah. So that's another thing that exists.
No, that's stupid too. Probably should name him. Good Lord.
Are you stupid or something?
Yeah, he
And
is.
You keep doing it until the toilet paper roll's gone.
Oh,
Up and down and up and down.
What the hell is going on?
I'm
Again,
not gonna say I'm not judging you because I am.
and again, fighter pilot, one of the most advanced pilots on the face of the planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
That's the best and brightest.
at least it's not $1 billion piece of equipment that he's flying in that.
No,
instance.
it's like 2.
Dear Lord.
You about to find out.
Goodness gracious.
Oh, you want to brighten things up a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, an Oregon Duck is being inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. LaMichael James, he had a nice little fun thing to say about how he ended up in Oregon. We'll get to that and more coming up here on Danny and Dusty Today, the Fan.
synonymous with an entire era of football. And LaMichael James is that, not just the Chip Kelly era at the University of Oregon, but kind of the blur era of college football where the no huddle and playing at 1,000,000 miles an hour, he was the poster boy for it. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And with that, he is rightfully being inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, which, in my personal experience,
officially in now.
That is absolutely awesome.
Yep.
Well, Michael James is an incredible college football player. Amazing dude.
Yep.
And like just one of the nicest guys I've ever come across in sports. I've run into him in his various Killer Burger locations and talked to him over the years. Just an awesome dude, who will come up to you and just start talking your ear off.
And he is the reason why NIL should exist. And is like, he would have made a killing while at the University of Oregon.
Yeah.
It would have bought him another year at the University of Oregon, where he wouldn't have had to leave to make money in the National Football League, where everybody knew his frame and his style of running wasn't conducive to the NFL. And he held on for a few years even doing that. And he was a spectacular college football player. And like, there's nothing wrong with being a spectacular college football player and not having a career that is as equal when you go on to the next level. It's a different sport.
Yeah.
I mean, the NFL and college, how many great college players have we seen that just don't pan out in the NFL?
Regularly.
That's why NIL is
such a big deal because it's
necessary.
guaranteed money.
Well, it's necessary because Michael James brought millions upon millions of dollars to the University of Oregon, a 2-time consensus All-American, a guy who rewrote the record books at Oregon, and he was in a position where what else was he going to gain at the college level? You know, like there comes a point where you sit there and you go, I'm a 2-time consensus All-American. It's my time, right? Like, and that is, it would have been so cool to see him cash in on NIL because he's making a good buck for himself now and a great living for himself. But if he would have had that footing coming out of college too, that's a great thing. That's a really cool thing because you never know what the NFL is going to bring.
One of the questions he was asked during his press conference was how he ended up in Oregon, a running back from Texarkana, Texas. And he had this to say. I was being recruited by a couple of SEC schools, but a lot of them back then were Adidas, and I was a real big on Nike, so I kind of chose, and this is a true story. So I remember going to Mississippi State and Arkansas, like, I can't look fly in no Adidas. When you're 17, it's all about the swag, and you go to University of Oregon, and they got 20 uniforms and all these other cleats, and I'm like, yeah, I can see myself here, but I didn't know it rained every other day either. Michael James, the first checks over stripes guy that ever was.
There's a very real thing about a lot of guys that come to Oregon, and the uniforms they do work.
Yes,
as an entry point to the football program.
Scoot Henderson talked about how he wanted to play at Oregon because of all of the different uniform combinations when we had him in for his workouts.
There is also a story of Michael James was really homesick his first year at Oregon.
Oregon's very different from Texas.
He wanted to go home. And there was a time where he went home. I think there was something in the family, but he went home for a while, and there was concern he was coming back to the University of Oregon. He came back, and it worked out for him in a great way, but that is the weather, the different culture in Oregon as opposed to Texarkana, Texas.
A little bit different.
It's a lot different. Lily White out here in Oregon.
Indeed.
That is a shock for a lot of student athletes that leave anywhere and
literally anywhere in the country and come
because they have to. Because I don't know if you've looked around the state of Oregon. There's not a lot of Division I football prospects, and sure as hell aren't a lot of Michael James running around.
Nope.
But I love the fact he was like, nah, it was uniforms.
Yeah, no.
It was uniforms. That was my entryway in. It was Nike.
And to be fair, there was a 20-year period there where Adidas, rough.
They have rebounded. They ruined the NCAA tournament with those weird fanny pack uniforms that they made Kansas and Louisville wear, where they had great uniforms and they just went and screwed them up. They screwed up a lot of things. Their football uniforms still aren't good.
No.
Like they're
getting better.
No, they're not, because like Herm Edwards, when he was like, what is this, little kid's jersey? Their jerseys are all just like tiny and look like they're about to just fall off the uniform. They look cheap, and it's not a good. I'm not 3 stripes for football uniforms.
I was leaning more towards the design side, not opposed to the.
Their casual gear and their shoes are better looking now than they were before, though. They've done a really good job with Dame's line.
Yes,
a lot of the other ones, you're just like, no, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm not. The Anthony Edwards, I'm not in on. But
No.
it is what it is. And speaking of basketball, the in-season tournament had its first knockout stage last night. But first, we have to get to 3 up, 3 down, 3 things we like, 3 things we didn't. Come in NFL and we can. Danny and Dusty, today the fan. church.com/thefan. And as always, you can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan.
Hey-o!
All right,
YouTube us.
YouTube us.
Like and
YouTube
subscribe.
us. Yeah, like and subscribe. Help us grow the show. Do all the things.
That's right.
I feel like I'm doing a Jack Ramsey's promo right now.
That's what you have to
do. It is hour number 3. It is Tuesday. It is 2 o'clock, which means time for 3 up, 3 down, 3 things we like, 3 things we didn't. Coming out of the NFL weekend that was. Jeff Russ, fire us off. Dusty.
What was that? Hold on. What was that? Fire us off. Wacky FM DJ.
Yeah, rocking you on a Friday.
Well,
Fire us off.
Part of it was my voice going, and I just kind of went with it. It's like,
Go to the man
oh
box.
no. Let's go to the man in the box now. Good Lord. Dusty. 3 up. What are you going with?
Well, number one. My number one is Debo. Because Brock Purdy is now the front runner in Vegas to win the MVP this season.
I thought you were going to say he had $5 on your 40.
No.
What you got on my 40, dog?
No. I like the Friday reference,
There
though.
you go.
Brock Purdy, though, is the MVP front runner, but make no mistake about it, his emergence on that list and rapidly rising up is not with him getting right. It's with Debo getting right. It's with Trent Williams getting right. 138 yards, 3 touchdowns against the Philadelphia Eagles for Debo Samuel. Healthy Debo is great things for Brock Purdy, and that's why I think Debo Samuel should be the MVP frontrunner in the NFL. He is the engine of that offense.
Do we get a non-QB MVP this year?
No, because the NFL writers are stupid.
Yeah.
Anybody that votes for these awards is stupid. Just like the Heisman Trophy. Heisman Trophy is going to be won by Jaden Daniels now
And it doesn't make
because
any
he did not
sense.
play championship weekend.
I don't understand it. How can you be the best player in college football and lose 3 times?
Well, I understand if you can lose 3 times, but you shouldn't win it because
You
Bo
didn't
Nix
play
played
another
Michael
game.
Penix in the
Yeah.
final game, and they both played really well. Bo looked rattled at the beginning of it. He's sure as hell settled in as the game went on, though. Looked okay. All right. But Debo, he's my number one. He's up.
Number 1 for me, Roar Lions Roar. 9-3
roar.
Detroit Lions. Meow.
Yeah.
At the top of the NFC North, and they are running away with that division. And again, there's just something about the plucky fighting Dan Campbells that I love, man. Count me in on them.
I love them,
Look,
too.
they let me down last week. This week, not only did they win in my hearts, they won in my wallet.
First time since 1962
Woo.
that they are 9-3. All right, my second one.
Nah, it's brutal, dude.
Colts have won 4 straight thanks to a little Minshew magic. Each game, he's thrown for more yards, including 312 against the Titans this past week. Look, are they going to turn to a pumpkin soon? Absolutely they are. But I don't care. I'll give them props. They've won 4 in a row, and they're doing a really good job. Shane Steichen as their head coach, he is continuing to keep that thing churning forward, even though they've had some roster turnovers. Shaq Leonard leaving. He's kept that thing together. They've won 4 in a row. I'll give a little tip of the cap, even though the 4 teams that they've beaten are all very, very bad. They are, though, in playoff contention right now. Their 4 wins in a row have been against the Titans, Bucks, Patriots, and Panthers. All of them very bad football teams.
Yes.
Inarguably bad football teams. But,
Indeed.
hey, you win 4 in the NFL, I'll give you your love.
Now, my second up, are you feeling the love?
Ooh.
Jordan Love, 3-1 in the last 4 games. And these are his last 4 games. 289,
Yeah.
2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in a 23-19 loss to Pittsburgh.
Not too shabby.
322 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 68% completion percentage, 268 yards, 69%, nice, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and that was against the Lions. And then against the Chiefs, 27-19, 267 yards, 3 touchdowns, 69%, 0 tutties. That is well over 1,200 yards and 10 tutties, 2 interceptions.
That's pretty good.
That's a hell of a run.
He's
and look,
playing really good football.
I was out, and I continued to be out on Jordan Love. He is starting to show something. Am I still buying it? No. Is he better than Desmond Ridder? By a lot, yes.
Why did Desmond Ridder get brought up?
He's just catching strays.
Oh. Jake freaking Browning is my third up. He has completed in the last 2 games 81% of his passes, including last night in Monday Night Football where he went unconscious against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He went 32 of 37 for 354 and a touchdown. But more than that is over the last 2, 81%, 581 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jake Browning, a backup quarterback, you never know what you're going to get, especially with the journeyman. He hasn't gotten very many opportunities to throw the football in the NFL. He's doing a really damn good job. Will he come back down to earth? Absolutely. Probably. But what he did last night was impressive. It was amazing, and he is a big reason why they won that football game. Hell, that's an overtime win against a playoff team, a team that could have taken over the 1 seed in the AFC with the win, and they went down to Jacksonville and won on Monday night.
Is it going to be a slow fall back down to earth, or is it going to be...
You never know. I think it might be slow. I think it might be slow. By that, he may get another half.
There you go.
But then we're going to have our screech, yeah.
All right, my third up is for you, Dusty.
Yeah. Ooh.
The Patriots committed to sucking this much.
No.
You know why? Because
there's nothing good about
it. It is because they might actually get a quarterback. Their continued the level of which they are sucking is going to lead them to getting one of Drake May or Caleb Williams.
Mac has a noodle arm.
He does have a noodle arm. And so does Bailey Zappi. Also noodle arm.
Yeah.
All right.
Neither Caleb Williams nor Drake May.
Boy,
noodle arm.
That is the most Danny up I could have ever imagined. His third up is a team sucking.
Hey, they're committed to it. The Bears will
not.
So
are you. You are committed. You are committed to negativity. Seahawks is my first down. Third straight loss with the 49ers and Eagles looming as their next two games. You could be looking at 5 straight losses for the Seattle Seahawks, and it hasn't been good. There was like a little bit of hope that they were hanging on to. They're 6-6. Can they pull out of the tailspin? They're going to have to do it against the San Francisco 49ers, the same team that beat them 31-13 on Thanksgiving night. I don't see it happening.
My first down, Wilson! Much being lost at sea, the Broncos are lost in the wilderness with a quarterback who, my God, no matter what anybody tries to tell me, this is his last 5 games. 114 yards, 193 yards, 259 yards, 134 yards, and 186 yards. One game out of his last 5, throwing for more than 190 yards in the year 2023 of our Lord.
Relax.
My God, that is a level of suctitude. This is the kind of thing people are excusing. The Broncos are winning. No, this is Tim Tebow all over again.
Kirk Coochie board.
It doesn't make any sense. Stop trying to justify it. He sucks. 3 interceptions. I don't care if he's throwing for 114 yards and 3 touchdowns. I don't care.
I loved what Robert Saleh said today, because there's a report that Zach Wilson didn't want to be the starter because they've cut Tim Boyle and signed Brett Rippon off the Seahawks practice squad.
Indeed.
Robert Saleh said today, he's like, Zach wants the job. I just don't think I'm there yet.
Oof.
What else do you have to see, buddy?
Oof.
Yeah. That's brutal.
God, maybe I should have gone that way.
My second one is also the Patriots.
This team blows.
3 straight losses, and this is the first time that this has happened since 1938. They have lost 3 straight games where their defense has allowed 10 or fewer points. They are so bad that the Thursday night football graphic that Amazon Prime put up, because they play the Steelers on Thursday night, they don't have a player worthy of promoting. So it was J.J. Watt on one side of the promo, Bill Belichick on the other. They are awful.
Good God.
They are god-awful, but their defense is pretty good. Their offensive line is one of the worst in the NFL. Their wide receiving core, one of the worst in the NFL. Stevens is out. He is not a high ankle sprain. Probably don't see him again this year. Why would you? And their quarterback play has been terrible too. It's a bad offense, man.
Speaking of bad offenses, the curse of Deshaun Watson lingers over the Browns, willing to commit guaranteed money to a man who had 26 different plaintiffs file sexual assaults suits against him. Well, they continue to suck horribly, even on the 40-plus-year-old arm of Joe Flacco. They are wasting a generational-level defense from the Cleveland Browns, and this is what they get for doing what they did with Deshaun Watson.
Just pain. It was pain everywhere.
My third one is the Washington Commanders. Has anybody noticed how bad the Commanders have been the last 2 games? The Commanders have lost 4 games in a row. Their point differential on the season is minus 134.
Good God.
On the season, yeah. They've been outscored the last 2 weeks 90-15. 90-15. They have been outscored the last 2 weeks of the NFL season by 75 points in 2 games. They're bad. They're very, very bad.
You mentioned a team in the Patriots with a good defense and an offense that's failing them.
Yeah.
The Steelers. Steeler mediocrity because they have not found a guy to replace Ben Roethlisberger.
It's the Steelers.
The Steelers scoring 10 points against the 2-win Arizona Cardinals, allowing a Cardinals team to win a game where Kyler Murray threw for $145 to beat you.
It's really bad.
24-10.
It's really bad. It is really hard to replace a franchise quarterback that has served as your franchise quarterback for 20 years.
Yes.
That's why I really am impressed with what Jordan Love is doing. Like, what Jordan Love is doing, like, you're going to go through these bumps. You're going to go through these rocky times when you have a new quarterback stepping in and filling the shoes of Aaron Rodgers, who filled the shoes of Brett Favre. Jordan Love has not been good at stretches. He's been really good the last handful of games. Like, the last month of the season, he's been awesome. It's really hard to do. See what the Steelers are going through. See what the Atlanta Falcons are going through. See what the Patriots are going through. It's really stinking hard to do. And I that's why I'm so impressed with the roster that they built around Brock Purdy in San Francisco as well, because they've done it without an elite quarterback. And they got Brock Purdy, who is playing well above his skis of where he was drafted and has turned out to be one of the quickest developed quarterbacks that we've seen in the NFL, because he had his struggles at Iowa State too. And Kyle Shanahan and all of those weapons that are around him have masked a ton of it, but they play to his strengths. It's coaching and it's finding the right guy, and it's really hard to do.
Which is interesting, because the best thing to do is follow up a quarterback who either wasn't that good or was embroiled in controversy, i.e. CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Because if you're good behind that, you look great. That's it for today, for this week, ladies and gentlemen. 3 up, 3 down, 3 things we like, 3 things we didn't, coming out of the NFL weekend.
Well, it's 4 down for Danny, but he counted one of them as the up.
It wasn't up.
Because it's a commitment to sucking.
It's a commitment to sucking. It matters.
You know what? Even when
Picking
you
a direction.
suck.
No days off.
Yes.
No days off.
Knowing what you need to do and steering into the skid is being smart. That's the Patriot way.
Yeah. They're just waiting for.
It's an orgy in the end zone.
Never gonna see it.
Never gonna
RG3.
see it.
Maybe they should sign
Hornets
RG3.
Well, I don't know how I transition out of that, but I'll just say this. The in-season tournament's a success. Fight me on it. Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. The first ever in-season tournament knockout game.
Dude, and you're not kidding, though. That game was way more fun than the NFL game.
And it was electric the whole game.
I have been pessimistic on the staying power of this tournament because of the fact that I don't know how much fans are going to care about the tournament itself. But the one thing that the NBA has succeeded on, and it is inarguable, is that they wanted to make games matter in November and December, and they have.
They've accomplished
because the players are caring,
Yes.
and they're playing like these games matter. And we always talk about this, like, yeah, well, we see players, and players admitted this, that you start ramping up as the season goes on, and you don't really care. But how many times have we seen, at the end of the year, teams playing catch up, Portland Trail Blazers, and all of a sudden you're having to push at the end of the season to make up all of these games.
Burn up.
Or you have, tiebreaker scenarios that it's like, well, we're worrying about a tiebreaker scenario from a game that happened in November that they didn't care about. This makes these games matter. And guess what? When at the end of the year, these tiebreakers come up, you have games where you're like, no, they were playing hard. It's not something that they were overlooking, because we have had that in the past and players have admitted as much.
And the big thing
It
about
is a
this,
success in that regard.
Not only that, the thing about this is, and you know this, Dusty, you give professional athletes a reason to care. A very simple one is we've already seen multiple times in something that didn't matter. The All-Star game. The first 3 quarters of an NBA All-Star game does not matter. What happens in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, they start caring.
They start caring because they don't want to lose.
Yep.
If you give professional athletes an incentive to care, which to these guys, this is such a stupid thing, but it matters. Number one, it's just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Even if it's something that's made up to be a little bit more. Like, I don't want to lose. I don't want to go home. Like, that's what was on the line last night. And so you felt it in the arena in Indiana. It was a sellout crowd in Indiana. Like, for a mediocre Pacers team, well, is very fun. Best offense league. They have one of the worst, if not the worst defense, depending on when you look at it. That's just, but people cared. You know how I know they cared? Viewership was up 93% last night, year over year.
Yeah, that's big because it's a reason just to watch.
Yes.
But I think the bigger reason that players care is that you get $500,000 if you win the thing that your agent can't touch.
And in the middle of December, where do you get to go?
Vegas. So are we just going to see terrible basketball this weekend then?
No, because everybody's going to be rested.
They're going to go party their asses off.
Well, I mean, maybe the title game. Maybe the title game in Vegas is a show. But all the other teams, the Blazers, all the other non-tournament teams, they're only playing two times this week.
Yeah.
Because they're isolating the in-season tournament games. The Blazers play tomorrow night on the road against the Warriors, and then Sunday night against the Mavs at home. 2 games in a week, which is a rarity. This is almost like an all-star break-esque.
Yeah. Which is good for those players too. I mean,
yes.
And it gives them a little bit extra that they can hang on to. But the other guys aren't playing that much either because they're playing 2 games as well.
Yes. And with that, this little bit of a rest period after the early burst of the season, it's kind of nice. It actually kind of breaks the season up into thirds. This is your run up to Christmas, and then your Christmas to All-Star break, and then All-Star break to the end of the year. It kind of breaks the season up into thirds, and I think that's kind of how you have to look at things now. The dog days of the NBA are shortened up a little bit with this because you do get a little bit of a break.
Yeah, I like what they've done. Some of the courts are atrocious. Some of the uniforms, Indiana having to win in those uniforms that's
rough.
Awful. They shouldn't do that to people. They're terrible uniforms.
And they're committed to those courts and those jerseys for 2 years because of the in-season tournament.
Gross.
So they spent all that money on it, so they gotta justify it and use it for at least 2 years.
Yikes. That's disgusting.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
But at the same time, you are getting players to care, and people. That's the hardest part about the NBA season is that people aren't going to watch because it's just one of 82. Now you've incentivized people to watch the games, and look, last night it was up 93% year over year. I mean, it was because you're getting interest, and they're actually delivering on the floor. The worst thing that could happen for Adam Silver is that you don't get a Tyrese Halliburton-esque performance that he gave where people opened up their eyes and everybody finally got to watch him.
And that's the key right there. That's the most important thing for me is because now we're putting on, does not matter what market you are from.
Yeah.
Nick Friedel, who used to work at ESPN, I love him. He's great. He tweeted out today something akin to, why would anybody want to watch a Bucks-Pacers matchup? You've got to be praying for Lakers-Knicks, And it's like, give me Bucks-Pacers, that brand of basketball where you've got the second best player on the planet, Giannis, with Dame, an MVP caliber young up-and-comer and Tyrese Halliburton. Like, that's what the NFL has done so well, is market everyone.
Can we stop the whole narrative that nobody cares unless New York is in it?
Yeah.
Nobody cares if New York is in it.
No, only New York cares. Nobody else cares.
I'll tell you what, like, nobody's going to care who wins this tournament either. Like, to be quite honest, like, the fan base will be like, hey, yeah, we won the in-season tournament.
I think the smaller fan bases, the Sacramentos, the New Orleanses, the Indianas of the world, who have been desperate for some level of win for such a long time.
I mean,
yes, no, seriously. Like, if the Indiana Pacers somehow won this thing, I think it would be a big, big deal for that franchise.
I don't know. It feels
like if the Blazers won it, I don't think it would be here. I don't think it would
Dusty,
be.
we raised the Summer League banner.
As a joke.
Yes, but also
I mean, I think it'd be the same thing.
But no, people were genuinely excited about it because particularly as young teams that have not seen success in a long time, it is something.
I'd say it's like winning the NIT, but I don't even think it's that. It's like winning the CBI.
Yeah, I don't think
it's a step.
I think
it's a step up. It's all it is, but it is. I'm telling you, talking to players, it does mean something.
Yeah, because it's $500,000 to them. And,
no. I mean, like they've said, the level of competition has ratcheted up.
Yeah, and that's why people will watch. But I think at the end of the day, it's like, all right, if the Pacers win this, they are the 7th seed in the East, and they get bounced in the first round. I think their fan base is probably going to remember that a lot more than,
oh, sure.
Hey, we were in-season tournament champs.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to have a bunch of fan bases that are like, well, we didn't win the title this year, but at least we got that NBA cup.
No, but what I think you will see is, here's the thing. What I think you will see is for young developing teams using that as kind of a marker.
Right. Well, that's good for development for the young guys,
that's
too.
Things
but,
like, hey, because this is the difference. And I'm not kidding. I know it sounds like I'm overselling this, but looking at this, talking to coaches and talking to players, they are treating these games playoff-esque in their rotations, in how they're coming in. It's like, most people I think that coaches are like, this is the Hoosiers, that they're calling plays from the bench every single play.
Right.
82 game seasons, you have sets.
Right.
You have free flow.
Yep.
You have some stuff that you go to for sure, but in the playoffs, when it is condensed, you are calling very specific hunting matchups. That is happening in the in-season tournament. Like, they are refining scouting reports more. And I think that stuff, that ratchets up the intensity in the rivalries. And I think that is a level of exposure that is very good for young teams and fan bases to build on.
So the fan bases that care, I do think that, like, the Pacers or the Pelicans or the Kings, right? They'll look at it and their fan base will be like, hey, that's great. But I think for everybody, for the Celtics,
the Lakers,
Suns, Bucks, and even the Knicks, like, you think the New York Knicks fan base is really going to care?
Yes, they will.
Thing?
They haven't won anything since the 70s.
I don't think they'll be like, okay, cool, now go get bounced in the first round by Trae Young again, right? Like, that's what they're going to care about, and that's what I think their fan base will push back on. But the measuring stick for the young teams early in the year, that is great, and that is good, and there can be some good that comes out of it. But we're also talking single elimination as opposed to 7-game series, which is far different game planning.
And that's why it's just a different taste. But it is.
I like it though. Yeah. I think it's been good. It is good for the NBA. It's really good for the NBA to have games that are actually competitive and the players aren't sleepwalking.
Games that matter early in the season before Christmas.
And I think that there's a lot of people that do have pushback. And look, I have my pushback on it because I just don't think the fans will really care who wins it. But if you actually watch the game, it does feel different and look different. Oh, no, because not just because they're on bastardized courts and wearing silly uniforms. They actually, the style of play, the level of competition, the intensity that is minute to minute, it does feel a lot different. And that's great for the league.
The exposure for teams like the Pelicans, the Kings, and the Pacers, who all played last night.
Yep.
And you have Sabonis, you have Fox, you have Ingram, you have Tyrese Halliburton, who gets his first ever triple-double in his second national TV game, while also having the superstar power of Jason Tatum.
Yep.
So
I'm there.
I think you get a nice conglomeration of everything.
Faux show.
All right, coming up next, the NCAA football Heisman finalists have been announced. Nothing too surprising there. Which way will they go in New York? First, here's Big Kahuna with Sports Center Update.
You ever had a big kahuna burger?
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Red Tail Golf Center's annual store-wide holiday sale now through December 24th. Details at golfredtail.com. First on The Fan, Pac-12 award season is upon us. Oregon quarterback Bo Nix has been named Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year. Nix also, of course, the first-team quarterback. He's joined on the first-team offense by receiver Troy Franklin, tight end Terrence Ferguson, and center Jackson Powers Johnson. As for the defense, defensive lineman Brandon Dorless and defensive back Kyrie Jackson make the first team. Running back Bucky Irving, linebacker Jeffrey Bassa, and defensive back Evan Williams all made the second team. As for Oregon State, first-teamers are running back Damian Martinez, offensive lineman Jesse Fuaga and Jake Levengood, and linebacker Easton Mascarenas Arnold. Second teamers are tight end Jack Velling, offensive lineman Tanner Miller and Joshua Gray, defensive lineman Sione Lolohea, and defensive back Kitan Oladapo. Silas Bolden makes the second team as a return specialist. As far as the transfer portal, Oregon defensive back Triquez Bridges and Oregon State defensive back Jermod McCoy have entered their names. ESPN also reporting Oklahoma transfer quarterback Dylan Gabriel will visit Oregon soon, and the Ducks are believed to be the favorite for his services. Trailblazers are off tonight. They wrap up their 5-game trip tomorrow night at Golden State. But the NBA in-season tournament quarterfinal play continues tonight. TNT's doubleheader starts at 4:30 with the Knicks at the Bucks. Milwaukee 4.5-point favorites. That's followed by the Suns as 1.5-point dogs at the Lakers. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust, Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino brings you big games on big screens with big-time sports betting action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
The inside story on the Blazers, Ducks, and Beavers. Danny and Dusty. Weekdays noon to 3 on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Leif's has been Portland's #1 choice for decades. Why? Because the other body shops trade insurance
does. It's not all quarterbacks. Hey!
I wonder how much
College football.
yelling Maserati Marv made it so he is in the Heisman finalists.
Can we shut him up by getting him invited?
Good
Is that how
Lord.
this works?
Nope, not going to do it. Not going to do it. This is going to be the weird part, though. Conference championship weekend mattered a lot in a lot of Heisman voters' eyes. I know that a lot of people out west, they were sold on Bo Nix heading into that conference championship game.
It was Bo's to lose.
Michael Penix played really damn well, and they won that game outright. And Penix outplayed Bo flat out. Like he made big time throws. Bo made some incredible throws as well, but Michael Penix was the guy that we saw the front half of the season, not the guy we saw the final 6 games of the season. He was that dude. I like that Michael Penix is getting there because it is a body of work, and Michael Penix as a body of work was really stinking good. It is going to be very interesting to see, though, and it does appear that Jaden Daniels is going to win it because, again, voting blocks are going to be split. There's going to be some people that don't vote for Bo Nix because of a conference championship game and Michael Penix winning that game, although they're going to feel more comfortable voting with Jaden Daniels, who wasn't even in a conference championship game. In the 3 toughest games they had all season long, they lost, right? I mean, in Bo Nix, the 2 toughest games that Oregon played, they lost. Bo Nix still played really damn well in those games, and Jaden Daniels played well in his, but they'll go to stat compilers, or not stat compilers, the people that just only care about stats, and Jaden Daniels has been electric all season long. He's put up great numbers. He really, truly has. But what I find very odd is we just had the all Pac-12 voting come out. The offensive player of the year was
Bo Nix.
Bo Nix. Bo Nix was the offensive player of the year in the Pac-12. And there will be people that split the votes between Penix and Nix. And you may see Michael Penix Jr. End up ahead of Bo Nix in the Heisman voting, but not be the offensive player of the year in the same conference that they play in. Like the Heisman Trophy is so damn weird. And
it's not what it used to be. And I know this is very much get off my lawny, but if you look at the Nissan commercials, the Heisman House, when you look at that Heisman House, Dusty, what do you see? Do you see Barry Sanders? Do you see Charles Woodson? Do you see
Eddie George?
You see other
Marcus
positions.
Allen. Yeah.
You like, I know running backs were more valuable than him, but you also have wide receivers. You also have defensive backs. You have non-quarterbacks who are even remotely thought of, but the best players in the country.
Yes, but I mean, Devontae Smith won in 2020. 2020 is when Devontae Smith won, wide receiver out of Alabama, where he was the best player on the team. We had Derrick Henry in 2015 win one. But I mean, to the point of
you
being
have to
just
basically
the best
break
quarterback is what you're looking at. And my thing with Jaden Daniels is his numbers were fantastic. He has one of the best wide receivers in all of college football, who's up for the Blitnikoff Award.
Is he the best player in the country?
No.
Right now, I say no, and that's the thing.
No.
Like, this is one of those years where college football was very good. The best player in the country, like,
and I think this is where we're at, though, is that you could make that case for a lot of different guys.
Yes.
I mean, you could make that case for Rome Odunze, too.
Yes.
Rome Odunze is, that guy is unfreaking stoppable.
I was going to say, if you're asking me who the best player in the country is, it's probably Marvin or Rome.
Yeah. I mean, you can 100% make that case.
Like, who was the most impactful, important player? And not only that,
and that's why this is close, because numbers that Jane Daniels put up,
bonkers, almost just short of 4,000 yards passing and 1,100 yards rushing.
Bo's numbers do not compare,
No.
but also Bo Nix in more than half their games didn't play in the fourth quarter.
Yes,
because Bo Nix was really
because they were so
good.
good.
Yeah, but Michael Penix Jr., he had that lull, but guess what his team did? They won every stinking game, and when they needed Michael Penix the most,
he delivered.
He always delivered. Always stinking delivered. And he was banged up, whether he was hurt, sick,
whatever
it was, he ended up coming up huge when that team needed him the most. And that cannot be ignored.
That might be if you're going down to it, that might be the thing that decides it for me personally, is that even with Penix's numbers Tim Tebow's numbers at Florida throwing the ball were not the best.
No, but that guy was the best damn player on the field.
But we knew. And winning time, what was it? It was Tebow time.
Yeah.
Penix, even in the games he struggled, with the exception of the Arizona State game, every one of the other games, when they needed him in the fourth quarter, he was the dude. Every single time.
Yep.
That has to account for something when you're undefeated.
It does. It does. But Bo Nix also damn near set the efficiency record for passing.
Has anybody with 3 losses ever won the Heisman?
Yeah. I bet there have been guys who've lost 3, but that's one of the biggest problems with the award though, is that best player, best team. I think maybe Lamar Jackson in 2016.
At Louisville?
Yeah. I think they may have been a 2-loss team. But yeah, we've had that in the past, but it truly is. I don't think your team has to win either for you to be the best player in college football. You don't have to win every game, but every big game that they played in, they ended up losing.
It's fair. All right, well, we'll have the award ceremony in New York, and I think it's a foregone conclusion that Jaden Daniels wins. But, hey, we've seen dumber things happen before.
Absolutely we have.
All right, when we get back, we'll wrap things up and hand you off to Isaac and Sue.
2016 Louisville, 9-4.
Really?
Yeah, they were 9-4 that year.
Well, there you go. Yeah. You remember something every day. Not learn something. You remember something every day. Danny Dusty, today the Fan. Nick Cage or Keanu Reeves. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner.
I'm a little surprised.
I am too.
I am a little surprised.
Coming in dead last, Sly Stallone, 6.4%.
Not surprising.
Second to last, who I thought would be the winner, Nick Cage, 17.3.
Yeah, that one was a little bit surprising to me because of what he has. Like, he has a lot of just like absolute clunkers in there.
Yes. But the bangers are incredible.
Yeah, the fact that you have Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Raising Arizona, Moonstruck, you have, if you know,
Con Air, Face Off.
Yeah, if you know,
that's good old fun.
National Treasure is your thing.
Yeah.